A very good morning and a warm welcome to Galaxy TV. It is Monday, the 15th of March 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Pan-African Morning Show. My name is PETROS MSWELI. I'm standing in for our own Audrey Chimonda-Tala, who couldn't be with us today, but tomorrow she is going to be back in her warm seat. But then let's just take you through our stories for the day, looking at your headlines. The Zulu King will be buried in a private ceremony on Wednesday. Economic Freedom Fighters has committed to cover the funeral cost from Thokosi Sintumba. And back up in London rather than England, Londoners protest after a police officer is charged with a woman's murder, and women in India are fuming over the new farming laws. Now, let's just start by our top story here. Now, the public says a hero has fallen following the untimely death of the Zulu King, Kutul Zulutini Kapegu Zulu. The king passed away on Friday morning, age 72, and numerous prominent public figures paid a visit to the palace where his body currently lies. The king will be laid to rest in a private ceremony set to be attended by men only and will take place in the evening on Wednesday. The royal house said that the king requested to be buried in a private location.
South Africa's Zulu King, Goodwill Zwelithini, died on Friday, aged 72, the royal family said in a statement. He had been admitted to a KwaZulu-Natal hospital for diabetes treatment when his health took a turn for the worse. South Africans like Noni Casimiro reacted with shock and sadness to the King's passing.
We've lost our pillar, we've lost our leader, we've lost someone who was so culturally aware, someone who was bringing all the pieces together. I feel like it's not just the loss for the Zulu nation, but the loss of culture in itself and the people in South Africa, because that's what we're all about.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said in a statement that His Majesty will be remembered, quote, as a much-loved, visionary monarch, and commended his contribution to cultural identity, national unity and economic development, not just in KwaZulu-Natal, but throughout the country. On the streets of Johannesburg, Lazarus Apane described it as a great loss.
Given the fact that historical magnitude of Amazulu, him leading Amazulu through difficult times, during apartheid, seeing Amazulu nation triumph to democratic dispensation.
Zwelithini's reign spanned turbulent decades in South Africa. He assumed the throne at the height of apartheid and went on to rule through the country's most violent decades, a period which included a dispute over the role of the Zulu monarchy. That spilled over into post-apartheid South Africa, when the country's new constitution recognized traditional leaders along with its democratically elected.
Well, meanwhile, the African National Congress Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, along with KwaZulu-Natal Premier Sihle Zikalala, they also visited the royal house and paid their last tribute to the king.
Paying our condolences to the entire royal family in Ndlunkulu, the Zulu people as a whole. But as Comrade Sihle said, we convey condolences to many South Africans today on behalf of the African National Congress. King Goodwill Zwelithini is a man we worked with for many years. He was a humble man, a great king who always cared for ordinary people. Many of you would have seen him in Gauteng, visiting ordinary people in hostels, supporting cultural activities. So this is a great loss to all of us, not only the Zulu people, as I said, but to everybody in South Africa, because he was working with everybody. We are saying to the family, be consoled, be comforted. We are with you on this day, and we want to say to the King, our father, you have done your work on this earth. We bid you farewell today. Go rest now. Your work will be continued by all of us that you have taught how to care for people. So we have been in there with Comrade Sihle, not only as the chair of the ANC, but as the premier of KwaZulu-Natal. The government is working with the family to make sure that the king is given a befitting funeral. and the family is supported and comforted.
Well, also the former president Jacob Zuma joined the mourners and said that the nation has lost a stalwart. Let's take a look.
Kwenze ukuthi sizizwe ukuthi ukhona okubi osekwehlile ngoba sazile ukuthi silahlekelwe ubaba, silahlekelwe silo sethu, sazibuza ngamunye ukuthi sizosala sibe yini na ezweni. Noma okudaliwe kwanqunywa uNkulunkulu ungeke wakuphikisa, kodwa sithe ngeke singakhali, sizwakalise ubuhlungu bey'nhliziyo zethu zokukhala kanye nezikhulu. Siyayikhumbula indlela isilo besisiphethe ngayo sonke. Bekuyinkosi efudumele ekwenza uma unayo uzizwe uphephile, uzizwe uphelele. Esifundisa ukuthi uma umuntu ufanele ukuthi ube njani ngaso sonke isikhathi. Uma ke sithi sehlelwe ifele emnyama asisho nje ngoba sisebenzisa amagama, sisho ngoba ngempela sehlelwe ifele emnyama. Uphuke umuthi omkhulu obumthunzi wethu okuqasha, uma libalele noma lina sitashe phambi kwawo sithola ukuhlokomala. Izwe lonke likhala kanye nathi ngoba
well, the Kokta minister, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, also sent her own heartfelt condolences to the royal family.
I think they are correct. He has revived the culture, especially those cultures that are helpful to the nation, especially when you look at how he's tried to link some of the cultural activities to health, to prevention of disease like HIV, and also, in a way, when he speaks to young people, he tries to instill the values of Ubuntu, of our nation, so that when they grow up with those values. He was a big activist in terms of HIV prevention. So, and of course, he is also very forthright. He was very forthright. He spoke his mind, but I think he will be remembered as a very proud African, a very proud Zulu king who made sure that he participated in issues that affected not only the Zulus.
Well, it's time for Pan-African Morning Show to take a very quick short break, but we're back with more stories right after this. Stay tuned.
Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this. Someone stole from me yesterday.
It was not my fault now.
Eh? Leave me or I blast your head.
No, don't shoot, sir, please.
Please don't kill us.
I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
It is still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Pan-African Morning Show here on Galaxy TV, channel 500 on Starset decoder. Well, to continue with your stories now, some sad news. The arts industry is reeling from the death of two actors. Renowned actor Menzi Ngubane passed away on Saturday at his KwaZulu-Natal home, while Noxolo Maqashalala's body was found deceased at her apartment in Honeydew, that is in Johannesburg. Nambitha Mpumbulwana paid her tribute to both actors and defined them as gifted and very committed to their work. Mpumbulwana said she is saddened by the tragedy and will remember both actors for their contribution to the industry.
Out late yesterday, early evening yesterday, and it just really ended my day. My heart stopped. I've known Menzi since we did Yizo together back in the day, and so this is a friendship that we've had for a very long time. And to know that how hard he's fought for his life for over so many years, and to lose that fight, I just never expected it. It was a blow. Really precious about his craft, his art. He also did not suffer fools. If you spent 10 minutes with Menzi and you messed up, you knew it immediately. He did not suffer fools, but he was incredibly, incredibly precious about his art, and his focus, his intensity was. It was unmatched, and he was an amazing friend. As you know, he had, at the beginning of my time on Generations, he had his kidney transplant. And so I started with him a little bit, and then he was gone for a while. When he came back, we had a lot of catching up to do, and he was still in in recovery mode. And he would do 10, 12 scenes in a day, and without complaint. He did it. And I remember we would, during lunchtime, be sitting in his dressing room while he does his dialysis, because he had to do it every 3 hours. And between scenes, we're sitting there working on our scenes and the upcoming scenes, and he's doing his dialysis. And he fought. He worked very, very hard. And as you know, of course, we're all fired together from Generations. So we formed a lifetime bond all of us. And it was
well, a very sad news there. May their soul rest in peace. But then let's take a look at one of the famous pieces of Menzi Ngubane doing what he loved the most.
Yazona wesinayika wena yesaqhamuko man awubheka uzibulesa kanjani lokho balekela mina ngizozimelwe inhliziyo wena wenza ukunyanyisa manje come on yena sa yana man anehlwane nibathathu Lieutenant Mngaya asikhuluma indaba zebusiness yabo.
Masengiqedileke uNdosi sikhuluma naye.
Well, moving on now with the stories. The former SCOPA chairperson Themba Koti says there are no grounds to remove the embattled public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane. Mkhwebane is facing the challenge as the parliament has asked in more than one occasion that she gives reasons why should she be allowed to continue in the office of the public protector. The notion was first fueled by the opposition parties in parliament, and recently the African National Congress has also thrown its weight behind the process to remove Mkhwebane. Koti says the work that has been done by Mkhwebane gives an upper hand against naysayers, adding that they don't think she should be removed from the office.
Go after the CX report judgment, when they were clamorous for the public protector to therefore be removed. We have stated consistently that we do not believe that it is the right thing to do, looking at the broad spectrum of the work that she has done, the work that she's doing, and that it is informed by a very subjective approach. Firstly, from the Democratic Alliance that has never supported her even for a single day. And secondly, from some elements within the majority party that feel aggrieved by some of the cases that she has taken up. So where we are today, where the DA has now formally, in terms of the law, made a submission, and this submission has passed stage 1, and it looks like it's going to stage 2, we still maintain that when we look at the totality of the work that the public protector has done and the general thrust of her work, we do not believe that.
The unveiling of memorial mural in commemoration of the African National Congress stalwarts Moses and Rebecca Kotane took place in Soweto on Sunday. The pair were remembered for their contribution to the struggle and their fight against apartheid government. Well, speaking on the event, Nomvuda Mokonyane said Rebecca Kotane contributed to what made South Africa be what it is today, adding that as the ANC, they are proud of her and will continue celebrating her and the work she did for both the country and the ANC. Well, it's time for us once again to take another short breather. We're still back with more of your stories. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this. Someone stole from me yesterday.
It was not my fault now.
Please, blast your head.
No, don't shoot, sir, please.
Please don't kill us.
I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
But it's still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
Allen has the chain.
Make massive moves.
Oh my God! Oh! Knock out!
And WBC Continental America's champion.
That was delightful.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib? But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot. Please don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
Wow!
Let's go. Come on, we can be back by morning.
Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah! Awesome! Totally! Yeehaw! Very funny.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
How can you say that?
That is what it is.
Your mother eloped with someone else.
I just think this is such a genius idea. I think it's amazing.
I can be happy.
It's inside you. It's inside of all of us.
It's about cooking smart that are nutritious and delicious.
President Trump acknowledging the coronavirus death toll could be significantly higher.
We don't want to do this.
There is nothing you can take.
Surviving roommates scared.
The heavyweights arrive.
Inside finds Petulia, blocked by Jane.
This is the will of God.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Make massive moves with Starsight. Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Jerusalem, ikayalami.
Make massive moves.
Welcome back. You're still with us here on the Pan-African Morning Show. Now, let's continue once again with your stories. Our next story now. The EFF leader says that they will cover the funeral cost of MSWELI Ndumba, who was shot and killed by the police during the student protest at Witwatersrand University last week. Speaking to the media, the EFF leader Malema said Ndumba may have been killed like a dog, but as the EFF, they will make sure that he gets a dignified burial. Ndumba is the father of 3 young children and a husband. He succumbed after being shot at a point blank during the protest that he was not part of, rather.
We are highly disappointed by what the police have done. And we're coming to say to the family, they are not alone. We are here as the EFF, as South Africans, as members of parliament, to support them.
How are they doing? How have they received you here?
We were well received. The family obviously is going through a difficult moment because this was unexpected. They are not coping at all. But what makes matters worse is that Begitele came here and they promised to help this family. But when they send them the things that they need, they are now being asked questions as to, don't you have a funeral policy? Don't you have a stokvel to contribute to your burial? Because Begitele made commitment. From there, he left and gave them a contact. Now the contact is asking them about, all types of things, which is unnecessary because even if they had a policy, our brother has got 3 kids. The youngest being 5 months. So that money of policies can be reinvested and take care of these children. And the government must take care of his burial. But because this government is so unreliable, we cannot keep on hammering on the fact that they need to help. We, since we are here, we need to see what we can do to ease the pain of the family, but also to offload this burden from them. And that's what we have committed to do. We are going to be giving them lawyers. We are going to sue the state. Our brother just completed masters and he just bought himself a house. He has got a family of 3 children, the youngest 5 months, the oldest almost 7 years.
Well, now it's time to migrate outside the borders of South Africa and look at the whole continent of Africa. This week in Africa, deadly protests took place in Senegal between opposition supporters and security forces that sparked the arrest of Ousmane Sonko, a government critic popular with the country's youth. Meanwhile, confusion continues to surround the cause of 4 massive explosions at military camp in Equatorial Guinea, and we met the 19-year-old Somali woman defying conversion by working as a taxi driver to support her family. Let's take a look.
The worst protests in years have rocked Senegal this month following the detention of the country's most popular opposition leader. Thousands protested the arrest of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who was detained on a rape charge. The violence has left at least 5 dead in a country seen as one of the most stable in West Africa. Sonko is popular with young people and came 3rd in the 2019 presidential election. He's a critic of President Macky Sall and was a front-runner to replace him in the 2024 polls. But last month, a beauty salon employee accused him of raping her. His supporters took to the streets to defy his arrest. A judge ordered his provisional release on Tuesday, but the 46-year-old was nonetheless charged with rape. He says the accusation is a political smear campaign.
The revolution has already started.
Nothing and no one can stop it. No internal or external power can stop it anymore. The people have taken the responsibility and have understood what is at stake. Let's lead this revolution to its end, that is to say, at the latest 2024.
For his supporters, the rape accusation fits a perceived pattern of the prosecutions against government opponents.
It is all those citizens who thirst for democracy, the rule of law and freedom. It is all these citizens who see this insolence of power, these people who get rich in 2, 3, 10 years. That is what these people are rising up against.
Experts say that Sonko's arrest and the subsequent unrest reflect a deep-seated malaise in the country. Many accuse Macky Sall of cracking down on democratic freedoms. 4 cataclysmic explosions destroyed a military camp and surrounding residential area in Equatorial Guinea last Sunday, killing more than 100 people and injuring hundreds more. The explosions in the country's economic hub, Bata, flattened a military camp, home to special forces, gendarmes and their families, as well as nearby residential areas. President Teodoro Obiang Nguema claimed the blasts were set off by a local farmer who burnt crop fields near stores of military ammunition. He blamed military officials for the incident.
Was really negligent, malicious even, on the part of those who know the effects of dynamite, which is normally stored far away from the population in other places, including underground.
Authorities say 105 people were killed and 615 people injured. But Human Rights Watch claimed far more lives were lost than the official death toll, based on the number of bodies pulled from the rubble. They asked aid groups to help the population directly because of what they call high levels of government corruption. Spain, Israel and France are among the countries who have sent help. But Human Rights Watch said unverified accounts alleged that the fire was started by soldiers ordered to burn brush and that it then spread to the armory, or that it was started during training on the use of explosives gone awry. Equatorial Guinea is one of the continent's most insular nations, and Obiang Nguema has ruled the oil-rich country with an iron fist for 42 years. Sudan began inoculating frontline healthcare workers against COVID-19 after receiving its first batch of vaccines.
It is an excellent job to start with us as nurses or as workers in the medical field, because we're the most vulnerable to this disease, and this is excellent.
The country is the first in the Middle East and North Africa to receive vaccines through COVAX, the UN-led initiative that provides jabs to poor countries, according to children's agency UNICEF. The country's health minister said frontline medics and the elderly are a priority. The coronavirus has so far infected more than 28,500 people in Sudan and killed almost 2,000. Likewise, Uganda rolled out its vaccination programme, also starting with healthcare workers. Health Minister Dr. Jane Ruth Aceng was the first person in the country to receive the AstraZeneca jab. On a small island in the middle of Lake Nakue in southeast Benin, a massive artwork of 2 interlaced hands takes shape. French land artist Sepi is spray painting his latest creation on a playground. The work is part of his Beyond Walls project, designed to be a symbol of kindness and goodwill between people. To South Africa now, where a sneaker craze is sweeping the nation. Here, sneakers aren't just sneakers. They're a marker of personality and social status, with young people hunting out the rarest models.
It's almost like an investment to say you're helping yourself so that you can live with these people, so that you can become a part of this thing, and then hopefully you don't struggle. Almost like fake it till you make it type thing.
Collecting and trading shoes has become a hobby in Africa's most industrialised nation, with aficionados known as sneakerheads. And there's money to be made. South African brand Batu sells its low-end sneakers for around $84, but in June 2019, a limited range of just 80 pairs sold for over $25,000 a pair. The shoes are often an expression of geographic roots in a country with 12 official languages and dozens of ethnicities. The athletic footwear craze is linked to African-American hip-hop culture, which infuses South Africa's rich musical heritage and its fashion.
In Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, 19-year-old Asha Muhammad had to find a way to support her 2 children when she divorced her husband a year ago. So she turned her passion for video game racing into a job. She became a taxi driver.
When I was little, I was passionate about cars. I wanted to become a pilot one day. I didn't think of becoming a taxi driver in the beginning. But when the taxi company Rikab was started last year, I decided to join them, especially because there weren't any women drivers at the time. I saw an opportunity.
Women face an uphill battle for equal rights in conservative Somalia. The most recent data, in 2012, showed the country among the 4 lowest on a United Nations Gender Equality Index. Divorce is frowned upon. Married at 16, Asha already took a courageous step in leaving her husband. Driving a taxi breaks another stereotype in a male-dominated sector. But her employer, the Rikab Taxi Company, was willing to break the mold when it launched last year.
The number of women taxi drivers was very low because of safety concerns. But since we launched the company, we are recruiting more women.
Somalia has been plunged in chaos for 30 years. The fall of Siad Barre's military regime in 1991 saw clan wars and the rise of radical Islamist group Al-Shabaab. Taxi driving is a risky job. Attackers regularly set off car bombs at intersections and security checkpoints. 2,000 Rikab taxis ply Mogadishu's streets. 3 drivers are women. Clients are getting used to having a woman driver. After initial unease, university student Sadiq Dahed says his feelings have changed.
These past months, I often use this taxi company, and even if usually it's a man's job, today I prefer women drivers. They are always on time and drive much more carefully.
Mohammed lives with her mother, who looks after the grandchildren while she works. Her job brings in $40 a day, enough to care for her family. Little by little, she makes a way for the future.
Well, still sticking with Africa, Nigerian security forces says they have stepped up efforts on Saturday to rescue dozens of abducted college students. Their statement comes after gunmen abducted 39 students from their hostels in northwest Kaduna State late on Thursday, the latest in a series of such attacks.
Nigerian security forces say they have stepped up efforts to rescue dozens of abducted college students. Their statement comes after gunmen abducted 39 students from their hostels in northwest Kaduna State late Thursday, the latest in a series of such attacks. The military said it managed to rescue 180 others after a fierce battle at the Federal College of Forestry in Mando at the outskirts of the capital, Kaduna.
It's a routine visit, operational visit, meant to ginger our troops, meant to motivate them to also get to know what their challenges are and then to solve problems right in the field. So it's we're quite pleased with the report that the commander has given to us, and we will keep encouraging them because that's precisely what we should do.
In a statement on Saturday, President Muhammadu Buhari warned terrorists and bandits targeting schools, saying his government would not allow the educational system to be destroyed by their criminal activities.
You know, counter-terrorism is a work in progress. It's not an end state itself. I mean, the end state is peace, but it's not a product. So we will keep working at it, and in due course, every space, every inch of land, including the tumbos, will be controlled by civil authority.
Heavily armed gangs in northwest and central Nigeria have stepped up attacks in recent years, kidnapping for ransom, raping and pillaging. The kidnappings in particular have complicated the security challenges facing President Buhari's security forces.
Now, the body of the Ivory Coast late Prime Minister arrived from Germany at Abidjan Airport. Hamed Bakayoko, popularly known as Hamburger, died in Germany from cancer at age of 56, 4 days after legislative elections that went ahead peacefully and handed victory to the ruling RHDP party. The government has declared an 8-day national mourning period from 12 to 19 March. The official program includes tribute from the nation, followed by the transfer of the body the next day to his home village, where he will be buried on Friday, the 19th of March. Bakayoko, who was also a defense minister, was evacuated to France on 18 February by a special plane for health reasons before being transferred to a hospital in Germany last weekend. At the time, legislative elections in Ivory Coast were being held. Hamed Bakayoko succeeded Amadou Gon Coulibaly as prime minister in July 2020, who died a few days after returning from hospital and a 2-month convalescence in France for heart problems. Appreciated on all sides of a country marked by political tensions, opponents were keen to pay their tribute. Moving on now with the stories, Ghana and UK signs a $1.6 billion post-Brexit trade deal. And this video will look into the new free trade deal between Ghana and UK. According to the news released by the British government, they have signed a trade deal agreement. It's worth $1.6 billion to Ghana earlier this month in one of the latest bilateral deals since Britain exited the European Union.
Ghana and the United Kingdom signed a trade agreement worth $1.6 billion in one of the latest bilateral deals since Britain exited the European Union. The trade partnership agreement secures tariff-free trade and provides a platform for greater economic and cultural cooperation between the two countries. The agreement will allow duty-free and quota-free access for Ghana to the UK market and preferential tariff reductions for UK exporters to the Ghanaian market, according to a statement on the UK government. This means Ghanaian products such as tin tuna, cocoa among others, can be traded to Britain without tariff. UK exports are also in line to benefit from tariff liberalization from 2023, including machinery, electronics and chemical products. The agreement was signed by Secretary of State for International Trade Liz Truss and Ghana's Acting High Commissioner to the UK, Pepper Amperchan, at the Department for International Trade in central London. Secretary Truss was joined on a video call by Ghana's Minister-designate for Trade and Industry, Alan Chiremading, to mark the signing. Minister for International Trade Ranald J. Wardena revealed that the deal secures tariff-free access for products that British shoppers love and supports jobs in Ghana and paving the way for further economic growth as both countries build back better from the pandemic. It is further evidence of the UK's determination to champion free trade around the world, which fosters growth, creates jobs and raises living standards for all. Ghana's largest exports to the UK include mineral fuels and oil, preparations of fish, fruit, cocoa, among others. Its top imports include clothing, textiles, machinery and mechanical appliances, and chemical products from the UK. Before the UK left the EU, Britain set up UK economic partnerships with 16 African countries, so it could continue deals it already had while it was in the EU. They are the same pacts as what the EU offers Africa, whereby some African countries do not pay tariffs or duties on exports to the UK. However, Ghana was not included, which meant without a trade deal, Ghanaian importers faced tariffs and extra paperwork. Last December, the UK also signed a trade deal with Egypt. The total trade on goods and services between the UK and Egypt was worth $4.8 billion in 2019, which is expected to increase after the deal. The UK also signed another $1.9 billion deal with Kenya last December. This trade agreement will ensure that all companies operating in Kenya, including British businesses, will continue to benefit from duty-free access to the UK market. These agreements means the UK has now secured trade deals with 65 non-EU countries, representing trade worth $318 billion. This accounts for 97% of the value of trade with non-EU countries that the UK set out to secure agreements at the start of its trade continuity program. If you enjoyed this video and want more updates about informative and trending news in Africa, make sure to subscribe to join the New Africa family. Thanks for watching, and contact us if there is any exciting stories you want us to cover.
Now let's head to Egypt and pick up some little bit of history here. In 1893, Nessis Papazian, drafted into the Ottoman army, escaped by jumping on a boat without knowing his final destination. He ended up in Alexandria on Egypt's Mediterranean coast. 10 years later, he opened the watch shop in Cairo that carries his name on the shorefront to this day.
The Central African Republic, CAR, went to the polls on Sunday in a second round of legislative elections. The vote comes as the country battles back against the rebel insurgency that the government has called an attempted coup. After 22 MPs were elected outright in the first round, 49 of the National Assembly's 140 seats are up for grabs in Sunday's second round vote. I came here to vote because this is my country. If I don't vote, I am not a good citizen. You have to come in large numbers to vote. Although there is insecurity in the country, okay, but I have to vote, and this citizen's work is essential. President Faustin Archange Touadera got re-elected in December from a vote slammed by the opposition as fraudulent, as so few were able to cast a ballot. Unfortunately, unlike 27 December, there is no real enthusiasm. But generally speaking, this is what happens when people don't necessarily have an electoral culture. When people vote the first time, they don't see the point of voting a second time. Touadera's party is expected to easily retain its majority in the National Assembly in Sunday's election.
Now we're moving to the White House. The White House had no comment on a media report that President Joe Biden's youngest dog had decamped the White House following an alleged biting incident, noting Biden's two canine pets often traveled to his home state of Delaware. The comments follow a report citing unnamed results that Biden's rescue dog Major had bitten a security staff member and that both dogs had left the White House. A White House official separately told NBC News that the pets were with family friends in Delaware while First Lady Jill Biden travels this week.
Can you clarify for us what happened with the president's dogs? There's some reports that one of them was involved in a biting incident. Can you clarify exactly what happened?
Sure. Champion Major, the president and first lady's dogs, members of the family, are still getting acclimated and accustomed to their new surroundings and new people. And on Monday, the first family's younger dog, Major, was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual, which was handled by the White House Medical Unit with no further treatment needed. It had been previously planned already for the dogs to be cared for by family friends in Delaware during Dr. Biden's travels to military bases this week. She has a 3-day trip this week, and the dogs will return to the White House soon.
Can you confirm that it was a Secret Service member who was bitten? And can you also reassure the public that Major Biden will not be euthanized as a result of this?
Well, certainly Major Biden is a member of the family, so I can assure you that. I don't have any more details on the individual. I would encourage you to ask the Secret Service, but I'm not going to have any more details other than that.
We were promised a White House cat. What happened to that?
Where is the cat? Today's a good day for the cat. I don't have any update on the cat. We know
The police in London clashed with mourners and protesters on Saturday after more than 1,000 people gathered to mark the killing of a 33-year-old woman hours after the police officer charged with her murder appeared in court. Sarah Everett's disappearance as she walked home on the evening of March 3 had led to a wave of accounts from women about the dangers of walking streets alone at night and dismay at the failure of police and wider society to tackle this. Early on Saturday, an impromptu memorial with flowers and candles sprang up around the Banstead on Glamford Common in southwest London, near where Everett was last seen alive. Kate, Britain's Duchess of Cambridge, was among those who paid their respect. A palace official said Kate remembers what it was like to walk around London at night before she was married.
Clashes broke out between mourners and London police on Saturday during a memorial for murdered woman Sarah Everett, who went missing as she walked home alone at night. The 33-year-old's disappearance earlier this month sparked widespread outrage across Britain over police and society's failure to tackle the issue of women's safety. Earlier on Saturday, the police officer that had been charged with her kidnap and murder appeared in court. By nightfall, more than 1,000 people, mostly women, defied social distancing rules and gathered in Clapham Common, where Everard was last seen alive. Some came to pay their respects. Others to protest the lack of security they felt when out alone. Crowds chanted "Shame on you" at police who were present. Witnesses told Reuters they saw police drag some women away. Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner Helen Ball confirmed that several people had been detained.
Regrettably, a small minority of people began chanting at officers, pushing and throwing items. 4 arrests have been made for public order offences and breaches of the health protection regulations.
Several official vigils had been planned but cancelled due to gathering restrictions. England is...
Hundreds of demonstrators gathered for a rally and march in Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday to mark the one-year anniversary of the killing of Breonna Taylor, whose death helped fuel U.S. protests against police brutality. Taylor, a black 26-year-old emergency medical technician and aspiring nurse, was shot 6 times and killed by the police in her Louisville home during a botched raid on March 13th in 2020. A grand jury in September recommended no homicide charges against the 3 white officers in the case. One of the officers, Brett Hankinson, was charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing into a neighbor's apartment, and a juror said later those charges were the only ones brought to the grand jury by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Hankinson and 2 other officers were fired by the police department. The incident, along with the police killing in May of George Floyd in Manstonia, sparked demonstrations against racism and excessive use of force by law enforcement across the nation last summer.
Hundreds of demonstrators marched in Louisville, Kentucky on Saturday, 1 year after Breonna Taylor was shot and killed by the police. Her death, along with the killing of George Floyd in Minnesota last year, sparked global protests against police brutality and racism. Protesters marched through downtown holding signs of Taylor's face, chanting "Black Lives Matter" and "No Justice, No Peace." Taylor, a black 26-year-old emergency medical technician and aspiring nurse, was shot 6 times during a botched police raid of her Louisville home. A grand jury in September recommended no homicide charges against the 3 white officers in the case. One, Brett Hankinson, was charged with wanton endangerment but not murder. During Saturday's rally in Louisville, speakers called for justice for Taylor and reforms to the criminal justice system.
Police kicked in the door of Breonna Taylor's home and shot her in cold blood, and they had the nerve to say they were justified in doing so.
Well, that's how we come to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for staying with us once again. Well, tomorrow, as I said earlier on when the show started, that Audrey Chimanda-Tola will be back in her seat. From me and the team behind the scenes that have made this show a success, it is a goodbye for now. Have a good morning.